This is a guy who puts Velveeta cheese on his tacos. You can hear him on Fox Sports Radio on the weekends, on the overnights from Friday overnight, 11 to 3, then Saturday evenings with the big man, Ephraim Salam, and then finally on Sundays with the furball, Andy Furman on Fox Sports Radio. It's Brian Noe at the No Show. This is episode 26 of Blindside Sports. My name's Emmett Douglas, and I'm excited to have Brian join me today. There's going to be a lot to get into with Brian, a lot of interesting stuff. And Brian, how are you doing on this Thursday evening as we're recording this?
I'm great, Emmett. How's everything going for you, bud?
I'm doing good, man. And I had to bring up the Velveeta cheese on tacos because that's a lot of the stuff on Twitter. People, that's your main thing that people don't like about you for whatever reason. The
Yeah,
Velveeta cheese.
I know they keep holding on to that. It's funny because it was just the other night I had some homemade tacos with Velveeta cheese, and they were delicious. I don't understand where these people are coming from.
you know, uh, I like a lot of cheese in general, so like I'm not really too picky about it. But I for tacos I'd rather have that authentic Mexican cheddar. But hey, man, you gotta do what you gotta do. I think the weirder part though was I think you're telling Ricky and Chris, your producers on the overnight, or maybe it's on Twitter, but didn't you dip like steak in Velveeta cheese one time too?
Oh yeah. So this is how we do fondue. So I know some people it varies, right? Like they just dip cheese in there. What we do is we have the fondue pot, right? And it's just boiling grease. And then we take a steak and chop it up into bite-sized pieces. And so we put the steak on like a little fondue, I guess, skewer. I don't know what they
Yeah,
are.
I think they're called skewers. I know what you're
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah, you throw it in there, and then we'll take Velveeta and microwave it. We'll put it in the microwave so it's melted cheese. So we take the steak out of the fondue pot and then dip it in the melted cheese and eat it that way. And it is delicious. It's my favorite thing.
Brian, I feel like if you're gonna go, all out for the fondue, why not just add, pay for that, expensive, more, better cheese because that's melted. If you guys haven't had fondue, the melted cheese you get from that stuff, man, is the best thing ever. But instead of talking about cheese for 45 minutes, why don't we hop into some sports and your career? So I gotta ask, first of all, give me your favorite Andy Furman moment. You've worked with Andy for 4 or 5, maybe even 6 years now, and the Andy Furman is a radio legend, obviously, and at Andy Furman FSR on Twitter, he has some funny takes, and he's all around a funny guy. Give me your favorite Andy moment.
Man, favorite Andy moment? I don't know because it's just funny when he kind of just loses his mind. I get a kick out of that when he gets all revved up, and that'll happen from time to time. I guess the memorable takes are some of the ones that are wrong. We always still make fun of him for saying that he thought Julian Edelman might be the quarterback taking over for Tom Brady, stuff
Oh
like
yeah,
that. It's memorable, and we tease him about that. But the funniest moment, I guess it would be something along those lines. I can't think of one that stands out where I just was barrel laughing or, something like that. But there are
yeah.
definitely memorable moments if he has a take where you're like, what are you talking about right now, man?
Yeah, actually, my first interview I did, I've been doing this since August of 2021, like it's beneficial since August. And I started the interviews in around November. I had your guy, Brian Fenley on, and I was talking to him about Andy. And, you know, he brought the Julian Edelman taking over for TB12 thing. And then the other thing he brought up too, which was funny, is, I mean, it's kind of controversial, but I mean, it's an Andy take, is that he thinks sports are going to be co-ed.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the other one. It's no, man, come on. Like, we're not
Yeah,
gonna
come on, Andy.
see Nick Saban coaching a co-ed football team at Alabama.
Oh,
Like it's just some of this
yeah, no.
stuff is, but it's weird, right? Because like half of me is like he can't believe this, and the other half is like I know he really does. He does. And
Yeah.
so I'm kind of in this weird sort of he's screwing with us, right? And I'm like, no, I don't think he is. So it's this weird kind of push pull thing with that.
Yeah, it is weird too. And how Andy, like, it kind of our guy Arnie Spanier too. He reminds me of Arnie, some of the stuff that Arnie spits out on national radio. You're like, there's no way this guy is like for real about this. But they have all these convincing arguments to where, hey man, look, this might be a for real thing, and Andy can, and the thing is with sports media is, me and you, I'm sure we all have some crazy takes. We're all in this, podcast, radio, writing, whatever you do for sports media. Everyone has that take that's just like, wow. But it seems like Andy's are just so crazy that's, they're so memorable. It's just like he's always out there with these crazy takes. And I have to ask you, another question about the Fox Football Sunday, Andy Furman, Brian Noe show. So you guys do a segment. It's hosted by Chris P, your technical producer extraordinaire, as you'd say. It used to be I believe it was Iowa Sam who started this. But how'd you guys do the? Where did the Bronx talk come from? How'd that happen?
From my stupid mind is really what it did. Yeah, we had a former producer, and I told him
Was
about
it Sam?
it.
Who was it? Was it?
No, it was I think it was Robert was one of our producers a while ago, but I told him about it, and he thought it was funny, and he told Andy about that. And I'm like, look, man, I got this ridiculous idea where we just do a segment with these thick New York accents, and it's just going to be obnoxious.
Freaking New York accents, man. The freaking New York.
Yeah, we're just going to yell at each other. It's in the middle of the night, at least on the West Coast it is.
Yeah, that's when Andy's awake, though. 6 a.m. for him.
Yeah, and we could just be obnoxious. And we've done that for a while. And it's always funny to me because every now and then we'll get a tweet and someone's like, this is the worst thing ever. I literally turn the station immediately when you guys start doing this. And I just disagree. I think you have to embrace the ridiculousness of it. We're not taking anything seriously in that segment. I love it. I think it's so completely obnoxious. And yeah, Iowa Sam was the first guy who, I guess, hosted it or steered it, if you will. And now Chris is doing that. And I've had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I actually think it's a real fun idea when it's just you guys freaking Tom Brady just yelling in New York. It kind of reminds me of Rob Parker a little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. You just have to get revved up, and everything, at least in that segment, is just the biggest deal ever when we know it's not. But that's the vibe, right? Like sometimes that's the vibe.
You just gotta do it, man.
Debate. Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing that I wanted to get into is you've worked the overnights for off and on for long time now. You filled in for Big Ben Maller, Jonas Knox when he did the overnight. What's the craziest thing that's happened on the air? Like I remember, I think it was a month ago. This isn't really crazy. It's just funny how we got into a conversation. You, Ricky, Perfett, how people. It was something about breathing on the air because you and like Jonas and Coop did like a thing where you guys would like try and do one of the Buffer brother things, and announce the fight on the air. Yes. What's the craziest thing that happened? It could be a caller. It could be something you guys got up to.
That's one of the funniest. I'm glad you mentioned that because it was Manny Pacquiao won a fight. This was years ago. And Michael Buffer was announcing the winner. And he said, Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao, did the whole thing. And someone made the comment about how he said Manny and really like drug it out, right? And so I was like, how long do you think you could say that? And so we timed ourselves. It was, at the time, it was me, Justin Cooper, who's Big Ben's producer, Bobo, been a technical producer at Fox Sports Radio, and Jonas Knox was doing the updates. That's
now he's big time morning host.
Yeah. That's when the four of us were together. And we timed ourselves doing it, and it was, of course, obnoxious. Coop and Bobo accused me of breathing while producing sound.
That's the most Bobo and Coop thing ever, too. I mean, I know Coop works on Ben's show, and Bobo, is Bobo. So, like, Coop, he has a reason with, like, Big Ben, who probably the biggest cheater, but,
Yeah. So that was fun for sure. And still, to this day, Manny might be done fighting, but he fought a handful of times after that event that we're talking about. And so anytime I would text the other three guys or tweet them, I'd be like, Manny, and they would
draw the tweet out. Yeah.
Still relive that. So that was a fun one. There was a caller one time. I don't understand. This wasn't that long ago, but he referenced me being divorced, and it was the most awkward thing. It was just
that is
so weird.
That's so awkward.
It was just odd because he was trying to be funny, and he
Was
was
it
trying
Justin
to
in
be,
Cincinnati? He'll own it if it was him.
no, he wouldn't do that. Justin's a good dude. I like Justin a lot. He wouldn't do that to me. I don't know who it was.
Yeah, and
But,
it's funny too, is there's a guy on Twitter who, when the Fox account will tweet, at Brian Noe, and whoever you're working with is on. There's always a guy. I'm not going to say his name in the interview, but he's like, Brian, him and his divorced wife and his Portland gig are done, or just going in on you. It's like that has to be so awkward when you see those tweets.
Oh, like some of those, if you prove yourself to be just a complete D-bag, then I mute you. I don't give the people the satisfaction of blocking them. But it's one thing if someone disagrees with a take of mine and they're a little blunt with it, like, I can take it as long as you're not just straight up disrespectful or wasting time. It's all good. But if you're just one of those people that's just going in and in, it's just like you serve no purpose. There's no value whatsoever. So I don't see any of that stuff. If you're a repeat offender, it's just like, dude, you're a repeat offender. I don't need to see any of that stuff. It's just not healthy. But yeah, man, some people are just in your face with that. And it's just like, you're just a lowlife if you do something like that. That's one of the most painful experiences in my life. And I can understand. Look, I was on with Rob and Chris with The Odd Couple not that long ago. And I was on the hot seat, and they just joked around about, hey, man, were you married? Like, it was like, how long was it? Like a month and a half or something?
Rob Parker does that all the time. And that's to himself, fine. Too.
Yeah. Like, there's like, you can do it where, if you say something and the other person is going to laugh at it, it's permissible. If you say something and they're going to take offense to it, then you don't say it, or you're just a complete ass if you do that,
Agreed.
So there was some caller that he definitely, it was just, and I stopped him. I'm like, dude, why would you say that? Why? That's not even.
Did he get dumped, or
what are you doing? No, I just addressed it, and it was strange. But yeah, that was one of the more memorable moments that wasn't as fun as the Manny Pacquiao thing.
Yeah. And obviously, beer drinking Brian, he always has fun calls. The guys who fall asleep on the phone on hold, those are always good, because you guys a couple weeks ago, it might have been Hollering James, but you guys would do a check-in every segment. Is this guy still snoring? And it lasted like the whole show. And the overnight I had Eddie Garcia on last week, and I've had Ben on before, and Jonas and Coop. Roberto's my next guy. Every night Chris P. But they all say the overnight is the craziest time for sports radio, and it's different. It's like nothing you'll ever work on. Like the daytime, you have all the normal, like guys will just call in and rip Rob Parker's Tom Brady take. And then the nighttime, you have the drunks, the people who are, doing security, who, are listening to sports talk radio to pass the time. And then you have just the wild callers who are just insane. And overnight radio is one of the best times to listen to the radio, I think.
I agree. Yeah, it's like there are no rules pretty much. And it's just like, it just goes in a lot of different directions. It's time to let your hair down. And, it's it's certainly the crazies come out at night, man. But I love it. I love that. It's just loose like that. It can go in any direction. It's not as stiff or structured. So, yeah, I've always loved overnight radio.
And why don't we, Brian, you obviously host sports radio. I want to dive into some sports. I'll have an episode out in a couple of days, previewing the championship, but I got to get your thoughts. We have the Rams-Niners. Rams are favored by 3 in this game. And give me your thoughts. What do you expect to happen? And I know this is a little early, but, give me some takeaways, some early thoughts.
I'm on the Rams. It's tough because I know the Niners have won 6 in a row. And
yeah, that's crazy.
It is crazy, right? Sean McVay has just been owned by the Niners. Yeah. But I see a lot of similarities between the Rams this season and Tampa Bay last season, where you look at the Rams getting a big-time upgrade at quarterback. That's clearly what Tampa got with Brady going over there. Now, I know Matthew Stafford is not on Brady's level, but when go from Jared Goff to Matthew Stafford, that's a big-time upgrade. That's huge.
Mm-hmm.
And Matthew Stafford was great against Tampa last week. So I think it took a little bit of time for the Rams to gel. They had their rough period. It's weird because I did a side-by-side. And Tampa, they had their rough stretch last year between weeks 9 through 12. And that's exactly when the Rams had their rough stretch as well. The Rams lost 3 games. They had a bye week sandwiched in there. And then that was the time when Tampa got hot at the end, leading up to the playoffs. The Rams got hot as well. And you stick in that extra game. That was the game that coincidentally they lost to the 49ers, the final game of the season. So they weren't as hot heading into the playoffs as Tampa was, but they did find their groove down the stretch, at least winning games. And I also think that when you look at how big of a coincidence is it that Tampa hosted the Super Bowl last year and the Rams could do the same thing. So I'm on the Rams, man. And San Fran they're beat up pretty good. They're beat up pretty good. And look, I think that Deebo Samuel is just an absolute beast and he'll find a way to be effective. But like all these dudes, if they're just a notch below where they typically are, when you look at Nick Bosa and Fred Warner have been
Jimmy G still.
Jimmy G has been bad so far in the playoffs.
Oh, I agree. And the thing is, too, with Jimmy G is, let's be real. The Niners should not have won last week, right? Like, it was all in the Packers. Both the teams are crappy. The Niners were probably the worst football team in that game, and they still won the game just because of 2 special team errors that that the Packers had, where we have that block punt for the touchdown, which won it. And then earlier in the half, I believe it was a shanked field goal by Crosby. So let's be real. The Niners, they kind of had an easy path, and then the Cowboys were screwing themselves the first week of the playoffs. And the thing is with the Niners too, and that game against the Cowboys is they were, that team was good. Jimmy G wasn't too well, but at the last quarter, that's when Jimmy G started to choke, and then it's like he was trying to hand the game to Dallas, and obviously all the controversy surrounding Dak Prescott and the coaching staff, that's been a big topic. And it's official that Mike McCarthy and Dan Quinn and Kellen Moore are going to be back next season for Dallas. So nothing happening there. But San Fran's beat up.
Yeah, San Fran's beat up a decent amount. It's not like they're ravaged by injuries, but I just think like Trent Williams, we don't know about him, right? If these guys, they're probably all going to play, but if they're just a notch below where they typically are, that could make the difference in a game against the Rams. And it's a good point. If you look at last week, the San Fran offense, they kicked 2 field goals. That's it. That's all they accounted for because the
defense outscored them 7-6. How that, in a playoff game, 95% of the time, the other team would win when the offense only scores 6 points and the defense outscores them. And it wasn't even like Aaron Rodgers he was okay, right? Average. He wasn't anything special, but Jimmy G was the worst quarterback.
Right. Yeah, he was. And it was the second straight week that Jimmy had a bad interception.
Yep.
The first game against the Cowboys, they're up by 13 points, and he allows the Cowboys back in the game with a pick. And then against the Packers, where San Fran's just trying to put points on the board before halftime, there's another bad decision with that sideline pass. So, yeah, Jimmy G has been shaky, man. He's too shaky for my taste. So I'm on the Rams.
Yeah, the thing is I picked the Packers last week, and my picks were 1-3 last week. I mean, I did horrible in that. I mean, I'm not going to give my official thoughts on the game because this is a whole nother episode previewing the championship. But yeah, it's just not looking good for the Niners with all their injuries, and the Rams have just had some fire to them. I hope they don't do what they did last week and almost give the game away like they did against Tom Brady, where you had these fumbles and then the missed field goal, and then Tom Brady just did Tom Brady things throughout the second half. And thank God for Matt Stafford to Cooper Kupp to win that. But yeah,
that's the crazy thing, man. It's football. Matthew Stafford could easily have a couple of picks. San Francisco with their running game and owning the Rams the way they have, they could easily find a way to win that game. So I don't think it's going to be a rout by any stretch, but I just think the Rams are in the better spot. I think they're at home. I know there's going to be a bit of a road field advantage, if you will, with the Niners fans. They're still going to be there. They're still going to be loud. But I just think that the Rams being at home, used to their own stadium, I think that helps. And I just think that the injury factor is in their favor. And in this position, I think they're the better team going into that game.
Yeah, and the thing is too is I think one of the weirder stories that we've had in a while broke. Speaking of SoFi Stadium, is where at first Niners fans who were in this San Francisco area weren't allowed to go to the game unless they bought tickets under an LA area zip code, like the credit card was from LA. Like, how weird is that, man?
Yeah. Hey, man, you got to do what you got to do to try to keep the opposing fans out of the stadium. So we'll see how successful they are with that.
Yeah, but I think I saw this on Twitter, and I might have heard it from Jason Smith or something on Fox, but I thought they changed the rule but I mean, still though, it's a lot of since LA just got their football teams a couple of years ago, a lot LA's taken over by like Cowboys, Packers, Niners, Raiders. I feel like.
Yeah.
In Chargers
yeah,
too.
It's not fun to have that many fans at your home stadium. Like that's just not a good look at all.
No.
And when you got to go silent count as the home team, that's just, come on, man. Like, you think about that. Imagine Seattle being that way, where Russell Wilson's got to go silent count because of all the road fans. Like, it's obnoxious. It would never happen.
Yeah, I was at the Seahawks Lions game this year, and no matter, obviously Seahawks had the best year, and Seahawks fans we are all in like high spirits. It was, super fun experience. And you've been going to all the games. You went to national championship. You went to the Rams Cardinals game with Lee Robert the fourth. And then didn't you go to weren't you supposed to go to like a concert or something too? Like, you've been all over the place. Like,
yeah, Coop and I were supposed to see Rage. We were supposed to go to a Rage concert. This is, man, over a year ago, but the pandemic wiped that out at the time. So hopefully we'll make it happen sometime soon.
Yeah, I think you should make a bet, and then if you lose, you have to go to a Tool concert with Coop.
Yeah. Coop, it's funny because he hit me up not that long ago, and he was like, "Hey, man, got an extra ticket for Tool." And I can't remember how he put it exactly. Like, you wouldn't want to go, right? And I was like, if I lost a bet, yeah, I'd be there. But
I wonder who got the extra ticket. It wasn't Roberto, because I remember when Coop went, Roberto was working. So I wonder if he, wasted the ticket or if he found someone.
I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know if he found someone to go. I'm sure he did. I don't think the ticket went to waste.
Yes, yeah. It's kind of cool how, like, Coop just, you and Coop and Berto and maybe Chris get on each other about Tool. It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's a very controversial band. I've got my feelings. I don't like them at all. But I mean, I can understand why people would. Like, musician wise, they're good musicians. I don't care for the style of music. It's just too many lulls, too many slow it down. Like, all right, we were going well, and you want to slow it down for a little bit, fine. I don't want to do it for 2 minutes. That's just too long for me. Not into it.
Yeah, I like the music discussions you and Ephraim have on Saturday night with Don, because that guy, he's Chris and Roberto are, Roberto's kind of all over the place, but Don is really, like, that guy goes from metal to some new Kanye song in like 2 minutes, like, and then you and Ephraim get into these music discussions, and they kind of turn to like debates because you and Ephraim have different tastes. So I think it's really entertaining to bring the music aspect to a sports show because,
yeah,
it kind of goes hand in hand.
I'm glad you do like that. Yeah, because I have fun. I love Don Brown, right? Like, how eclectic he is. You're right.
The heavy one is Chris Broussard calls him on The Odd Couple.
Oh, really? Yeah. He'll go from like Slayer to, gosh, you name it, right?
And the thing is with Don too is I'll be listening to a song earlier and then he's filling in or, he's working a shift, and then I'll hear that song on the radio. I'm like, oh, I just listened to that like 2 hours ago. And the segment before this, he was playing some super heavy, metal. And then he'll play that, like, I remember the one song you commented, it sounded like the Victor Cruz salsa song out, he plays some, he goes all in.
Yeah. Oh, he's great, man. He'll throw in some Nipsey Hustle, right?
Oh, yeah.
Metal, has rap. He'll throw on just random stuff. Like if he played Cher, I'd be like, it's Don Brown, man. He's just doing whatever.
Technical producer extraordinaire. Yeah, he's And then his air horn, that like at the start of the show, that's when that gets
You
you
know
all
what's
hyped up.
funny? Yeah, we've got an off the air tradition, and I don't know. We've been doing this for a
Can you
long
share it?
time. Yeah, it's so ridiculous. It's silly. I'll actually share two of them with you. But
Oh, is
the
it you
one
and
I do
Ephraim
with
or is it you and Andy?
it's me and Don Brown. So
Oh,
Don Brown, every time, because I'm working remotely. Like typically I'm
yep.
remote when because I was in Portland for 3 years. And now Indiana for the time being, but he'll always tell us when our mics are down. He'll be like,
Yeah.
mics are down, whatever he says, or you're clear. I think that's what he says, is you're clear. And
that's when you say all the curse words.
no, yeah, he'll go, I don't know how this happened, but one time each show, he'll go, you're down. You dig? He'll do this whole thing, and I'll play the DJ air horn on my side. I don't know. It's the dumbest tradition, but that's what we do. He'll say, you're down. You dig? And I'll play the DJ air horn. And that.
So it's a reverse.
Yeah. That's what we do one time. And this is even more stupid, but when
Stupid radio.
you'll like this though. So it was when I was doing the show with Andy Furman. This is a few years ago. Ryan Music was the producer at the time. Ryan Music is now Colin Cowherd's producer.
Yeah, big time music. Yeah.
Music's a great dude. And Iowa Sam was the technical producer at the time. And
He's
Andy
probably slumped
Furman,
over. It was like 4 a.m.
Yeah, Andy
Jonas
Furman
ripped
made a
Sam for that.
mistake.
It's hilarious.
Andy made a mistake one time where instead of saying bottom barrel betting is next, he said bottom barrel baiting. He just made a mistake. It was no big deal. It was whatever. And for whatever reason, it's like the middle of the night. We're all loopy. You know, I was in Portland at the time. I don't know if I was wherever I was. It's still early in the morning. It's like 3 a.m. on the West Coast. And we would act in the commercial breaks like we were hosting a fishing show. And we, for whatever reason, we thought it was the funniest thing. So we'd finish a segment and we'd be off the air. And I'd be like, so Clem, you're up next on bottom barrel baiting. What you got? And we would just act like it was some fishing show. We would do this all the time, like 3-4 times throughout the show off the air. I don't even know why. We just thought it was funny at the time. And when I first moved to Portland, when I got that job, I was this close, Emmett. I had to get my license plate. And I'm looking up and I see like this agricultural license plate, like fish were on it. And it was like all wildlife and stuff. And I almost got a personalized agricultural license plate that just said baiting. I was that close. I didn't pull the trigger. I missed opportunity right there, but I went in a different direction.
Yeah, that would have been great. And, you know, no one would understand. They're like, why does this guy have baiting on his license plate? Like, because, you know, I mean, obviously, if you know, I don't think people know what, you know, the No Mobile, but like, you know, your, you know, radio friends like Music or Sam or, you know, Andy, you know, if they ever went down to Portland and they saw your car, they'd understand it. But no one on the roads could be like, baiting? What? Huh?
Yeah. And that's the funny thing is all my friends would ask me like, dude, what's up with your license plate? And I didn't even think. I would have to tell them the whole story every time. I don't know the Cliff's Notes version of that story where it would make any sense to them whatsoever, but it's just one of the many stupid things we do off the air.
Yeah. And, you know, I also got to wonder what are your thoughts on your Dolphins? What's going to happen? Is Tua starting next year? You know, what's going on with that?
Yeah, he'll be starting. I don't know.
That Sean Watson crap is the dumbest rumor I've heard.
I don't know where he's going to end up. I'm curious where Deshaun
Well,
goes.
like I said, I really, you know, I said this on the show before. I said this on FSR, and, you know, it really depends on what happens in, I believe, February now is when all the legal stuff is going to get taken care of. Right. So I really think it depends on how that goes down, where he's going to end up next year. And I don't think it's going to be the Texans, but at the same time, though, who knows? Like,
right.
He might be, you know, suspended or, you know, wherever he could be. So I don't think he's going to the Dolphins, though.
It's a good point by you. I shouldn't say Tua in stone because he hasn't proven himself as a
No.
franchise quarterback. And with
The
that being
thing,
the
the
case,
thing is, when you win 7 games in a row against like the Jets, Giants,
yeah,
all these bums. I mean, yeah, it's impressive to go 1-7 and then win 7 in a row, but they're bums. Like, and
yeah,
the team that they best quarterback they played was Lamar Jackson, and he, that second half he wasn't the best either. So
right. Yeah, you have to read the fine print on that 7-game winning streak, but it's a good point by you. Without Tua being an established franchise guy, the Dolphins have already had a wandering eye. So it shouldn't I shouldn't be like, oh, it's definitely Tua. Like, it's possible it could be Deshaun. I don't know. He's gonna go somewhere. He's done as a Houston Texan.
agreed.
And,
Yeah,
and the Dolphins are one of the teams that have been interested in him. So who knows?
yeah, and for whatever reason, you're a Dolphins fan, and I don't know why, but you are a Tom Brady lover. I feel like you should be, ripping Tom Brady like Rob Parker. Is Brady coming back next year? Because I'm gonna give you my stance on this before you go.
Yeah.
He said it's a family decision, so I wouldn't be shocked. But at the same time, he's always stated, I want to play till I'm 45. I want to, stay, be in the NFL for this long. He's a year out from 45, so I think he could come back. He's not going to care about winning. Like, his legacy's already set. I just think he'd do it for the accomplishment.
Well, he's a competitive maniac, and I mean that as a compliment. So I think he's going to be back for one more year. I just don't think he's played his last game. And
No.
I think a lot of it has to do with the grind of a season. That was a grind of a season. And you add in the AB drama and all the injury issues. And then you come all the way back from a 27-3 deficit to tie it up against the Rams. And then you lose.
You get your
that
dreams
game.
ruined by Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, it's this whole like letdown. So dude's got to decompress. I think once his batteries are recharged, I think he's back for one more year at least. It might not be 2 or 3. This might be his final season coming up, but I just don't think he's done.
Yeah, I'm with you too. And it's just also the thing is I feel like it's not gonna be a while because I think, his wife, if it's his wife's decision, I feel like she's gonna start to be like, hey, you should retire, I mean, let's be real, money's not a concern at all for the Brady family. Like, they are loaded. So I think he's gonna be back next year just for the accomplishment of, playing till he's 45 and being good. But yeah. And speaking of money and wife, Aaron Rodgers, who has the actor girlfriend or whatever, do you think it's already, they lost second, in the divisional round against the Niners, second round of the playoffs. The rumors are already starting to heat up, man. Aaron Rodgers is leaving, all this, and the Broncos hired their offensive coordinator today, so it's looking like maybe they're gonna try and go make a big play for Aaron Rodgers. And the rumors are if Aaron Rodgers leaves, Devontae Adams is out, so it's just a whole thing for the Packers. And before I ask you the question here, and you already know the question, I mean, it's kind of obvious, but if I'm Aaron Rodgers, this Packers division is really weird. Like, it's not not the best of divisions. And if you want to go the Broncos, why the Broncos? Because that team is it's not even like the team is the team is a good team. I mean, I feel like they're they need some pieces and they can be fine. It's that division, man. You'd be playing against Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert twice, and even Derek Carr twice. So
right. Yeah, I hear you. I think that Green Bay is the best spot for him. I was just the other day, I was reading about all their free agents, and there are a lot of them. They're not in great salary caps shape, right? So if you're looking at these dudes where it's Devontae Adams, Devondre Campbell was an all-pro selection, some of these guys are going to go. You've got Rasul Douglas, Robert Tunyon, Marquez Valdez-Scantling is, if you lost him, it's not going to wreck your team. But
no,
you start looking at it from Aaron Rodgers' perspective of what's this team going to look like exactly, and how much talent are we losing? And so you weigh everything. I think that if Devontae Adams is back, and I agree, if you look at that division, the Bears probably aren't going to be very good immediately with their new head coach, Matt Eberflus. The Lions aren't going to make significant strides. The Vikings are just trying to rebuild. I think
Vikings are
that's
the
a
light
much
ones.
more favorable division than being there with Mahomes and Justin Herbert. So I think Green Bay is a better spot for him in
But
terms of
it's a factor
competing.
of, is Aaron Rodgers going to realize that? That's, a lot of it.
Yeah,
Because Aaron Rod, I mean, the guy is really weird. And the thing is with Aaron is, he he has very talented teams around him. Like he's always, he's been pretty fortunate. So like I feel like some of these losses in the playoffs could be directed on him. Like I remember when they lost to the Bucks. I mean, he just choked on like the final, like couple minutes of the game, or it was like first, second, and third goal, and there's some incompletions and stuff to where the Bucks were able to go to the Super Bowl. Like he was so close, and then he just kind of fizzled.
yeah, he's got to be better. That's the bottom line in the playoffs. Got to be better.
Yeah, and my thing too is you're from Wisconsin. You've been in Wisconsin, the Green Bay area for a long time now. That weather isn't what the Niners players are probably used to. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's your time to just show out and just crush the Niners, and he didn't. So I'm starting to question Aaron Rodgers' playoff stuff more. Like obviously the accolades are there. He's a great player, but can he win in the playoffs? That's the real question.
Yeah, it's just he's left a lot to be desired in the playoffs. His individual play, the team results, a lot of that traces back to him. And yeah, I'm just curious. I'm really curious to see where it goes. If he says, let's run it back, or he wants to go somewhere else. I don't know, man. I think it could go either way. I wish I had a stronger sense. I think it's a 50-50 thing whether he stays or goes.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the thing is with Russell Wilson, because he's been, I talked about this on the show the other day, and things with Russell is that guy's given some of the craziest mixed vibes ever. Like, so, both this offseason, I feel like it's going to be interesting with, Deshaun Watson, figuring out more about his legal situation. Then we can see, what happens football wise. Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, who's going to be taking over for Big Ben? What are the Niners going to do? Like, this offseason is going to be crazy. And, we have about like 4 or 5 minutes left. So I got to ask you, Brian.
Yeah.
Super Bowl's in LA this year. Mm-hmm. Are you going to try and get in, or, get tickets or get your media credentials to get in, or you just going to watch it from the TV?
I would love to, but I'm the worst at trying to get a media credential. I tried to get one. The last time I tried to get a media credential for the Super Bowl was Super Bowl 42, where the undefeated Patriots lost to the Giants. And I tried, like, I don't know, 2 weeks before the game. I'm like, oh, shoot, I should try to get a credential. And of course, it didn't work out. So I'm not a planner, Emmett, like I don't know. I'm missing that microchip or something. I don't plan in advance. So long story short, I have not gotten my media request in early enough to have a prayer of going to the Super Bowl. So no, man, unless the Super Bowl fairies just sprinkled down a Super Bowl ticket, I will not be at that game, unfortunately.
Yeah, I feel like going to the Super Bowl would be cool. And, you post this on your Twitter, at the No Show, where you could see, all the games he goes to and stuff. Do you have anything coming up that you're, planning on going to, or that, you're eyeing?
I don't think so for this year. I was, if Tampa won, because I've never been to Tampa Stadium. That's one of the few I have left. If Tampa won, I thought about going to that divisional game, but it was going to be too quick of a turnaround, and it didn't work out. But I thought about if they made it to the NFC Championship game going to Tampa, but of course they didn't make it. So no, I don't think there are going to be any more football games for this season at least, but next year there are a couple.
Do you hit up the NBA games or baseball or college stuff?
Yeah,
or
not like the NFL. I've been to almost every NFL stadium. That's my main love. I love football, love the NFL.
Love ball.
Love ball. But yeah, I've been to a handful of NBA, about the same, probably about 7 or 8 NBA, 7 or 8 MLB, roughly. So yeah, I'll see some games here and there with those leagues.
Yeah, I've been to one major league stadium. I went to the Mariners game this year. One minor league, but I've been to a bunch of Rainier games, which is, the Tacoma team. Been to a Seahawks game. I went to the Civil War, Oregon State this year.
Nice.
That was crazy. See the Ducks and the Beavers clash at it, and that
Yeah.
was a really good game. And yeah, that's my goal, because I want to get in the media is just go, see the sporting, go to a bunch of stadiums,
Yeah.
being at the stadiums live and then on TV is a way different experience. If anyone who's listening hasn't been, it's just completely different thing. And since you've, been to most of the NFL stadiums, I talked about this on my show the other day with like Washington rumored to get a new stadium. What's the
Mhm.
biggest dump of a stadium? I know Jonas makes jokes about this all the time, but what are your candidates?
Mine was Buffalo. I think
Really?
Buffalo Stadium sucks. And
Orchard
look,
Park is out as
yeah, well, I don't know what it is now, but that's where it's at. I don't know the name of the stadium now, but I don't know from when I was there, and it wasn't that long ago. Well, now it is. It's probably around 2012-ish, somewhere around there. So
all
I
right.
can't imagine they've made too many upgrades, but to me, it's just like a super oversized high school field. It just
Oh.
looks like a high school stadium. I'm not impressed with Buffalo at all.
What about the one that I think had the most controversy this season is FedEx Field in Washington, where they had the sewage situation and they had the,
Yeah.
the railing collapsed when Jalen Hurts clinched. Like that place has to be a dump. And I remember all the Charger apologists, like a former FSR producer Nick Wright was just going in on what was that Colquam in San Diego before they
Oh
is it all
yeah,
this
yeah,
call?
yeah. Yeah, I made it there before and I liked it. It had some charm. I don't know, maybe it was just the nice weather or something. Yeah, it was a dump, but I don't know. It still had some sort of maybe put a couple of palm trees around there. It doesn't look as bad. FedEx Field is just it's very common. There aren't too many bells and whistles on that stadium, but for my money, Buffalo was the worst. And I've been to almost every stadium. What does Jonas make fun of? What's his stadium that he crushes?
Jonas, from like what I've heard and what they bring up on the show is it's a lot of the I know our guy Roberto said it was the Raiders, and I think Jonas and Brady would FedEx Field like Jonas when the Jalen Hurts stuff happened. He said that has to be the biggest dump in the NFL. You can hear Jonas, the way Jonas says
Oh
stuff
yeah.
is just
That's right. With I forgot about thankfully nobody got hurt with that. Jalen Hurts like walking off the field and it just
I think
collapsed.
it was
All
really
these
cool how
fans.
Hurts handled it too. Like he was,
Yeah.
it seemed like he cared about the fans and like that was good job by Hurts. And we're running short on time here, but I got
I'll
to
tell you
ask
this,
you.
Emmett, real fast. You'll like this too because this is stupid but kind of funny. So Jonas used to do this segment called Out of Context, which was just hilarious. It was my favorite segment. Mike Mayer, the producer, he put this together. And so it would be maybe about a minute. It's just this brief little montage, I guess, of comments taken out of context.
Oh,
And so
I'm gonna have to go back. I think I remember
oh,
hearing that briefly. I'm gonna go back after we're done recording and just
it was so good, but it would be, it's mostly sexual. Like when you take
yep,
it out of
yep.
context, it's like it's a football game or a
I have a
basketball
funny story
announcer.
for you about
Yeah.
an
But to
FSR
this
guy.
day, Emmett, to this day, I'll still, if I hear something that's pretty out there, I'll go back and record it and I'll text it to Jonas and he'll get a laugh out of it. And every now and then he'll hit me up and be like, I don't think we can even play that. I don't think we could even get away with that. And I'm like, I agree. There's no way we could play that.
All right, so I have to ask one more question. I have a funny Rob Parker story because that guy's a king of out of context. But
Yeah.
so a couple weeks ago, obviously Rob Parker, traveling through New York. Do you know what a glizzy is, Brian? No.
What is it? A glizzy?
Yes.
No.
So it's kind of like a hot dog and a slang term, whatever. And could you mean the Johnson if you know what I'm saying? So
Uh-huh.
Rob had a hot dog for lunch. He had a old glizzy for lunch, and our guy Alex Teichert and Robert Guerra. I think he didn't sound like he knew what this meant, but they baited him to say, "I have a glizzy in my mouth" on national radio, and it's just saved everywhere. And now whenever Rob Parker brings up his my New York hot dogs, Teichert, one of the best engineers in the business, by the way. The way that guy works on his drops and the music selection, that's a Don Brown-esque right there with like the crazy music. He'll go from a heavy metal to some new like song you hear on TikTok. Like that's tie shirt for you. But my other question for you before we let you go is, what is your favorite drop that gets played on the network?
Oh man, that's a great question. One of them is it's with Eddie Garcia, where he's like, it's so big, and I don't know how I'd even get my mouth around that. Oh my gosh, that one is just gold. I love that one.
Yeah, I like that one, and the Andy, I need me a nice mature man. That one gets me every time. I think Jonas. Speaking of Jonas, I think Jonas actually. Chris B told me when I had him on that Jonas chopped that one up, and also the Eddie ones are good, and then there's some out of context Ben Maller ones. Rob Parker I think has the most now. Him and Jonas, like Rob Parker's the Glizzy one. I'm a little moist right now. And then
I do love like outside of the FSR personalities. I think it's Rodney Harrison. I think is the guy who you hear it all the time on FSR. It's like never heard of him.
I gotta
kills me every time. It's really funny to me.
Who says the who? Because that Chris and Berto and the heavy one Don Brown they play it. Is that I heard something on Twitter a while ago? Was that Bobo? Who was that?
I don't know who it is. To me, it's always sounded like Chris Myers, the commentator, but I'm not sure if that's right or not.
Yeah, I think it was Eddie Garcia. I'll tweet him and ask it, and then I'll tweet it out. I'll mention you. But yeah. The Who drop, never heard of them. They're all the Rob Parker ones. The Jason Smith saying huge boner, that one's good. And, yeah.
Never heard of them drop, because I asked like, what's the context of that?
Who'd you get that from? Iowa Sam?
Yeah, I don't know who told me. I'm not sure if it was Iowa or somebody else, but I believe the story is it's Rodney Harrison. It goes all the way back to, remember when the Patriots were undefeated and that safety Anthony Smith of the Steelers said that Pittsburgh was going to beat New Orleans. It was Rodney Harrison reacting to Anthony Smith saying never heard of him.
I'm gonna look that up after
that's
this.
the origin of it. Yeah,
that sounds right. And there's a lot of them too. Like I like the air horn. Like I want to get a soundboard for the show, and that air horn, thanks to Don Brown, is that's going to be on deck at all times. Like
dude, I love the DJ air horn. I want to know the story behind Eddie's drop. With it's so big. I like what is he talking about? I want to know exactly what started that drop.
You'd have to think, have you seen like a big burger, like especially those Western burgers? Those are, I'm not gonna say it because some evil person is gonna clip this, but those Western burgers, those big ones like the bacon and the onion rings and cheese and double patties. Those ones I can see.
Yeah,
I'm gonna ask them.
Or like you see these stadium foods where they have maybe it was something like that where it was like 9 foods or like 9 patties on a burger at some stadium. Something like that was probably, you're right. It was something most likely.
And Brian, you go to stadiums, and I don't know if you're you invest in the beverages there, but I've been getting out, and I went to the Oregon, like I said, the Oregon State game. I went to Seahawks Lions, and both the times I got a drink and they gave me a nice cup of like a team, like an Oregon cup or a Seahawks cup. And yeah, I'm like, that's cool, man. The Mariners didn't do that, but shout out to the Mariners.
I like some of those, right? I like the collector cups. I had one from the Ravens game. I was just at the Rams game and forgot mine in the stadium. And I
bet we stole it. It wasn't, you didn't forget it. We snagged it for whatever reason.
Yeah. I've got my I just had it the other day. I don't know where it went, but it was kind of cool. At the Rams game, they gave everybody a towel, and it was it just because the Rams won the division. They won the NFC West, so it just says champs on it and has the date of the game where they played the Cardinals and smacked them around in the playoffs. But little stuff like that, I like when I go to a game. If I can grab a towel and hold on to it, I think it might be good for a man cave one day, but it's just the nostalgia of it. I like stuff like that.
Yeah, and also you're probably the most historic ones that people talk about when you catch baseball at a MLB game, and just Shohei Ohtani or Mike Trout or Kyle Seager, whoever just hit this ball. I just hit a ball that he just I have a ball he just hit. Those ones are always cool, Brian.
Yeah. I've never caught a ball at a game. I've been to a decent amount of games. I've never even been close.
Me neither. And yeah, I just feel, and also those super lucky people too who win like the shirts where they'll like do the shirt toss and stuff sometimes.
Yeah. I've never even caught a shirt all the games. I haven't been close to that either.
So this wasn't at a pro sport game or college, but there's a racetrack around my area. It's about 30 minutes away. Went there a long time ago, and I did actually end up winning a shirt, but I've never done it at like a football or baseball or basketball or anything like that. But
I do have a confession to make, Emmett, because I went to this is years and years ago. It was some type of racetrack. It was local, and they just have like demolition derby night and like sprint cup races or whatever, like or sprints, not sprint cup, but like the midgets, they'll do all those type of races. And they were throwing stuff into the crowd, and someone in front of me caught it. And it was like not a young kid, but younger. And he reached up and caught it. And I was just so curious what was in it. It was just a little box. And I'm like, man, what's in it? And so he kind of caught it. And then I just like grabbed it and took it from him. And I'm like, I'm the biggest jerk ever. Why would I do something like that? Well, I was just so curious, and I looked, and it was like basically nothing in there at all.
Did you give it back to him?
No, I don't think so. I think I just left it. I don't know what I did. I felt so guilty. I don't know. I can't even remember.
Like that's the time where you just ask, "Hey, what's in there?" But
I know, right? Looking back, I should have just been like, "Hey, man, I'm just curious, what's in that thing?" and let him keep it. But
it's probably like some weird like like an empty wrapper. I don't know. And Brian, you just before I let you out of here, I know I keep saying that, but we're just keep talking. Is Applebee's your favorite restaurant?
No, no. I love Applebee's. I do love it, but I know that most of the food there isn't very good. I typically will get a steak, and their steaks, I'll be honest with you, they're freaking terrible. But I love them. I love them. It's the only steak I get where I drench it in A1, and I love it. It's not that good at all, but I do love that place for sure.
Yeah, that place, it's Applebee's, right? Like you go for what you expect, and they got, I will say they have good wings, but Brian,
it's not that bad though, right? Like Emmett, everybody rips on Applebee's. It's not that bad. I'm not saying it's the best.
There's worse out there for sure.
Oh, way worse.
Yeah, like some of the places that I go to, like, or I've seen or tried, is just like, God, like maybe Applebee's would be better than this, but a lot of Applebee's isn't that bad, and I've been to In-N-Out a couple times.
Oh, that's
legendary.
Tremendous. Love In-N-Out.
Fries
are completely overrated. Their fries are nothing.
The animal style fries. That's where we're talking. But tomorrow, I don't know if K-Fig's working, but if you do, if you're on the overnight with K-Fig and those guys, interrogate K-Fig about his In-N-Out overrated take and just rip into him.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
I'll take the blame for it. I'll even defend it. Like, he is the biggest In-N-Out hater ever.
Mm-hmm.
Our guy Kevin Figures.
Wow, I'm writing it down right now. Writing it down. And what's the best way to say? Just my guy Emmett. I was on his podcast.
Yeah. Because just say I'm pretty sure I've heard it around with Jonas before, where K-Fig is In-N-Out is overrated, and he rips them. I'm like, man, that is a place where you go, for fast food, and that burger actually tastes like something, right? They actually salt their patties, put something on it, and it's like, they even toast a bun. Like, what fast food place does that? Like,
I love In-N-Out burgers. They're tremendous.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think K-Fig's on the similar thing with Jonas, where you just rip everything that's good. Like, don't.
They're on that hate the good stuff.
They're drinking the haterade.
Yeah. I'll ask him about that. I didn't know that was his stance.
Yeah, our guy Rob Parker too is before you get out here, we're talking about food for like 20 minutes, but Rob Parker, this guy, I don't know if he heard about this, but during the offseason of NFL, they do a show or a segment on the Odd Couple called "What's My Beef Friday," where Rob Parker, whenever Rob Parker isn't happy, he shares it, right? And I hate to say this about you, Rob Parker, you're my guy, entertaining, but he's kind of like a Karen, if anyone knows what that means. But this guy, he goes to a restaurant and he orders an iced tea with some sweetener, and they don't have Splenda. They have this crappy yellow stuff, according to him. I think that's how he worded it. And he goes on Twitter and he does his video and he rips a restaurant. Turns out Rob had Splenda in his $200,000 cars, the guy's joke, that he has. And Monday, this is a Friday because it's What's My Beef Friday. Monday, Jonas is in for a Broussard, and this was about like a year ago, maybe 6 months ago. Turns out Rob Parker himself got a bunch of Splenda sent to him and a Splenda t-shirt.
Really?
Yeah. And then also I don't remember the exact controversy behind this, but this is more recent. I think it was on one of his Rob Parker tour or summer tours or whatever he called them. He had some issue with Buffalo Wild Wings where he didn't get the right wings, or they refused to serve him the wings he wanted because I think it might have been flats or something, and they just decided, hey, he complained about on Twitter, and I think he got either a gift card or he got refunded and a free trip to Betos. I think that's what it was. But yeah, Rob Parker's, that guy is good at getting his way.
My guy, Chad Doing is his name.
Yep, the guy from Portland.
Yeah, in Portland.
You did a calorie thing with him, right? Where you had tried to eat 10,000 calories in a day, or what was that?
Oh yeah, I forget how many he had to have. It was a lot. He lost a bet, had to, at least 5,000 calories, something like that. I can't remember what he had to get up to, but he got his money back. He went to go see Goodfellas years ago in the theater, and he wanted his money back. I'm like, dude, that's one of the most legendary movies ever. But yeah, he left, complained, got his money back. So we always made fun of him for doing that with one of the all-time legendary movies with Goodfellas there.
Yeah, that's definitely, and we have the jokes about Rob Parker, being a cheapskate and stuff like that. And yeah, Brian, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. If you guys, don't check out Brian's work, you also write for sports media, or Jason Barrett. I know the guy, that's the guy who tweets it out. You write for him. Check out that stuff. Check out his shows on FSR, or, stay tuned for his Twitter profile whenever, he decides, or a place decides to hire Brian 5 days a week. He does a good work at the No Show on Twitter. My name's Emmett Douglas at EmmettNocy04 on Twitter. Get the show at Blindside Pod 11, and IG, I'm at Emmett Nocy. And
by the way, Emmett, before we go, do you know anyone who can unhack my IG? It got hacked. I was at the Rams game.
I know. I tweeted this on Twitter. All right. Friday night I was doing something, so I wasn't listening to the show, and I get a DM from Brian Noe. I'm like, hold on, this doesn't sound right. And it just says hello. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe he saw my work because, Ricky Herrera, the producer, and Perfett, the engineer of your show, really, especially Ricky. Like I told him that all my interviews, and he's like, no way, man. And I thought, okay, maybe, they, sent my work. I didn't know what it was, right? Mm-hmm. So I see this message from Brian, and it's around the time he's doing the show, right? Like, I think it was, around the time where, our guy in and out hater K Fig would do his report. And I get this message. It's from Brian, right? So I check it. I'm like, all right, weird, So I respond back to it, and I'm like, wait a minute. One of my IRL friends got hacked a couple hours before, and it was with this like NFT money thing. Yeah. So I go to your profile, right? And I go to your post, right? And I was expecting to see the one with you and a producer Lee Dapp, and I see I invested $10,000. I'm like, oh, they're trying to get my money.
Yeah,
they're trying to get my
totally
account
hacked. Totally. I still don't know how to fix it. I have no.
I don't know how you could, but I'm sure like I'd reach out to Rob Parker because I feel like he would. He's like verified on Instagram, but yeah, I don't know how you can get that one back. Maybe try and reset your password if they didn't take your email. And
that's the problem, is the dude hacked it and he changed all my information. Like he changed the username, the profile name. I'm sure it's a different password, most likely. So I can't even
I'm pretty
plug
sure
into my
it's
account.
Still Brian No Show 1.
Yeah.
Don't go follow that because he's gonna go try and get you. But yeah, you're not really verified, so I think you're kind of SOL. Like your Twitter's your only hope. I mean, you do work in radio, so maybe one of like the higher up, like I don't know if FSR is a social media guy, but he might know like how to.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I might have to reach out to him, see if he knows any way to get it back.
Yeah, because I see whenever you mention the word hacked on Twitter, right? All these bots will come in and say, "Click this link, we'll get your Insta." I'm like, I'm
Yep.
not clicking that link. I mean, did you
Yeah.
fall for that?
No, well, it happened where it was one of my guys, Duke. He owns a barbershop in Albany, New York, Duke's Barbershop. Shout out if you're in the 518. But it's something he totally would have done. It was so believable where I'm at the Rams game. I'm not even really paying attention. And he's like, hey, man, can you vote for me for whatever? And I'm like, it sounds like Duke. It sounds like he'd be asking me to vote for him for whatever. And he's like, yeah, just copy this link and then paste it back. And I'm like, all right, cool, man. Yeah, it's not even dawning on me. I'm at the Rams game. A bunch of my friends are like, hey, man, I think you just got hacked. And I'm like, is it the Wi-Fi here in SoFi? And of course.
What Lee Dapp say about it? Because Lee was, you know, we could probably get a play-by-play from Lee, but Lee was at the game with you or near you, or you guys went together, right?
Yeah. Lee and I went, and I it's so obvious now. And I'm like, oh shoot, it was this link that I copied and pasted. And Lee's like laughing at me. He's like, dude, what are you doing? You can't do that. I'm like, I'm so old. I'm so old falling for this stuff.
Yeah, definitely. That's the thing with Insta too, is like there's like a time period. Will be like a 2 month hack of all these, you know, hey, vote for me. Or the one that they went is they did a couple of years ago when they're trying to get you is you're on the most ugly wall. Click to see it. And just an off-topic discussion, Brian Noe, about hacking and scam and all this. I got a text 3 or 4 months ago around the start of football season saying, if I don't click this link, I'm going to die a slow, painful death of type 2 diabetes.
Wow, dude, man, those people, those are some lowlifes, man. And they're DMing my friends. Some of my friends will send me a screenshot like, is this you? Because it doesn't sound like you. And it'll be there. And it's the person who hacked me like, hey, what's up? And they're like, hey, how are you? Good. You know, and he's just having a conversation as if it's me. That's low, dude. That's really low.
Yeah, he's trying to steal your identity. if you're gonna hack somebody, right? At least, you know, archive their posts and like take off like the Brian No Show one and put something else. Like they could go say some, you know, this could be, you know, like someone could just say something really bad and to the wrong person, and you know, you'd have to explain to everyone, I got hacked. This wasn't me. But yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Bad.
Now we're gonna hopefully wrap this up for Brian's sake, so Brian can go, you know, prep for a show tomorrow, right?
Yeah, something like that. Watch hoops.
That's
maybe some mayhem. Who knows what's going on?
Go get Applebee's. No.
yeah. Run to Applebee's real quick.
Yeah, but Brian, no, thank you for coming on the podcast, man. It was super fun. Enjoyed it. This was a very random interview. We went from sports to Rob Parker to wings to Applebee's to hacking. I think we had a fun time, and I'm looking forward to hear the K-Fig and you get into it about In-N-Out, Brian. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode.